Hey friends, welcome back to Homestead on a Prayer. I figured it was probably about time to give you guys an update on our chickens because I realized I introduced you guys to our baby chicks that we got this past May and basically haven't really said anything about them since. So they're a little over 12 weeks old now. I think you can see a couple of them walking around in the background behind me. So I just wanted to just show you how big they've gotten and give you guys a little bit of update on those little chicks and plus on our big girls and just kind of how everyone is doing and how everyone's getting along. So I know you see a couple of the little chicks actually in this coop right now, but this is actually the big girl coop and everyone's free ranging together right now, so these girls are just sort of exploring new territory. So you've seen this coop before. This is where our big chickens live, and if you haven't seen the tour that we did of this coop last summer, I'll go ahead and link that video below where we just go into a little more detail about exactly how our coop works and just some of the features that we have. So when we added the little chicks to our flock, we knew we were going to need to expand our run a little bit, and we also knew that we were going to need a way to keep them separated from each other for a little bit until they really got used to each other. So you can see here, what we decided to do was put this addition on the back of our run. Because this yard is fairly limited on space, there was only so much we could really do to expand this chicken coop and run. So what we decided to do was basically just expand the run up behind the coop and extend it over to the chain link fence that's behind it. So basically the reasoning with that was that it gives a little more space, but it doesn't take away any more of our yard. So we just attached the new chicks run directly onto the big chicks run so that they kind of live side by side right now. And the idea is that because they share a wall here, it's a hardware cloth wall, they're going to interact with each other through the wall and get used to each other, but not be able to really get in each other's space. So we're hoping to kind of gradually acclimate them to each other that way. Now, I will say, we have never introduced new chicks to an existing flock before, so we are just kind of figuring this out. So if you have any suggestions or tips for that, go ahead and leave those in the comments because I would definitely love to get suggestions from you guys. But I'm just going to show you guys a little bit more of our setup and how it's been working so far. So as you can see, this is the new chick run. We have it covered with hardware cloth on all sides. And here is the wall in between the large chicken run and our baby chicken run. So basically, ignore the poop all over the roof of this little mini chicken coop here. The chicks have been hanging out on there, and where chickens hang out, there's going to be poop. So what we decided to do, since our ultimate plan is to combine all of these chickens that we have into the main coop, we just got this little mini coop as kind of a temporary shelter for them. It's definitely too small for them to stay in long term, but it works right now while they'll be in it for a few weeks and they're not full size yet. So they have free reign of this run, and at night they go and sleep in this little mini coop here. So I basically just bought a kit and assembled this because it was a lot easier and probably honestly cheaper than just adding on to the existing coop. And since we wanted to be able to have our chickens be separated for a little while, that's the route that we ended up taking. Now, once our chicks are grown up and they're integrated with the big chickens, they don't really need this coop anymore. I figured it would be something good to hang on to in case we ever need it in the future. If we ever decide to have a broody chicken hatch out eggs, or if we ever have a sick chicken that needs to be quarantined, having something like this accessible just to be able to split up the chickens if we need to seemed like a good idea. So because of that, I think it was a good investment, and while it's certainly not up to the quality standards of the main coop that my husband built, I think that it'll serve its purpose well enough. So right now, the wall separating the chickens from each other is completely solid, but the plan is once they're all used to each other, we're going to cut out a little doorway here, and that way the chickens can go back and forth and all the chickens will have access to both sides of the run, which will give them quite a bit more space. So I'm not really sure about the timing of fully integrating our chickens together, basically allowing the chickens to access each other's runs and all sleep in the main coop together. We're just kind of learning as we go because, as I said, this is our first time introducing new chicks to a flock. But what I've been doing so far is, as I said, they live side by side with a hardware cloth wall separating them so they can interact through the wall. I've also been letting them free range together for a few hours at a time. So far that has gone really well. There hasn't been any signs of aggression from the big girls. So occasionally one of the adult chickens will peck at one of the little chicks that gets in her space. That's pretty normal. I haven't seen any, they're basically just trying to establish a pecking order. but I haven't seen any actual aggression that concerns me at this point. So I have only been letting them free range together supervised. So I'm not sure exactly. I feel pretty comfortable with them free ranging together right now, but I'm not sure if there will be aggression, if they're actually confined in the run together. So because of that, I have not confined them in the run together yet. Again, I would love to hear any experiences that you guys have because, as I said, we're just kind of figuring this out as we go. One other interesting development is that, as you can see, this little lady here I think is actually not a lady. So that little chick back there, I'm not sure how well you can see. Pretty sure he's a rooster at this point. Again, give me your opinions on that, but I'm thinking it's pretty definite that he's a rooster. I ordered all female chicks, but you know, when you order female chicks, sometimes you do get a little bit of a surprise. They're not 100% accurate. So originally, this is Clover, but I'm thinking I'm gonna need to change the name because I suppose Clover could work for a boy, but it doesn't really seem fierce enough for a rooster to me. So if you have any suggestions, we're considering calling him Clint because my daughter really likes Clint from the Avengers, Hawkeye, and I figured since his main job will be keeping an eye out for hawks, that does kind of work. So we're kind of testing out Clint and seeing if that works for him. But if you have any other name suggestions, I would love to hear name suggestions from you. So one other thing that I would love to get your advice and input on is I do not have any experience with a rooster. I've only had hens. He wants to go run. So I would like to keep him, and I'm hoping that he is a quiet and non-aggressive rooster and that he just kind of helps protect our hens. So if you have any tips or advice about how to raise him to help him kind of develop into just a really calm, non-aggressive rooster, I'd love to hear tips on that. Or basically just any kind of rooster care tips in general. Because as I said, we were not really prepared for a rooster. We got a little bit surprised by that. So I'm hoping that he'll be a good protector. And also, when I first got chickens, I made a deal with Dan. I had wanted chickens for a really long time, and he was kind of ambivalent about having chickens. But he said he was fine with me getting chickens. He would build the coop for me and do all of the building projects needed, as long as I only got hens and didn't get any roosters. So I tried to hold up my end of the bargain, but we did end up with a rooster by mistake. So as long as he is quiet and non-aggressive, we'll be able to keep him, so that is what I am hoping happens. So again, please share all the tips you have in the comments below, and I will definitely refer to those. So all the chickens from both groups are out here free ranging together, kind of getting to know each other a little bit right now. For the most part, they still kind of stay in their groups. The older chickens kind of flock together and the younger chicks all kind of stay together. But I'm hoping that with a little bit of time, they will eventually integrate into one flock. So as I said, this is definitely not a how-to video. This is just a little bit of an update on how our chickens are all doing and how they're all getting along. So thank you guys so much for joining me today in the chicken yard. I know I love hanging out with you guys. I love hanging out with my chickens, and the chickens seem to be actually enjoying hanging out with each other. So again, please share all tips that you have for integrating younger chickens to a new flock. Share all tips for dealing with roosters and especially how to help them grow up to be non-aggressive. So I definitely look forward to reading your tips. I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope that you will check back for another update on our chickens just to see how they're all getting along and how they're all doing together. And I can't wait to see you soon. I'll see you next time.